In the UK, the non-domicile tax change, which is applicable this year, is forcing all the millionaires, the multimillionaires, and of course, the billionaires to relocate, as they will be taxed in the UK for their worldwide income. So this is a big reason for the UK wealth to change destination, because the taxes, as you all know, in the UK are very high, contrary to Cyprus or any other low tax jurisdiction.
What are the benefits of the Cyprus tax residency for business owners, employees or remote workers, and investors? What is a non-domicile tax resident? Because many people say this, non-domiciled, and they assume everyone knows. What does it mean to be a non-domiciled resident? If you're an investor or a business owner looking for a smarter base in Europe with sun, safety, and serious tax benefits, Cyprus might be your best move in 2025. It's not just the beautiful, relaxed Mediterranean lifestyle, the 340 days of sunshine, the warm weather all year round, and the amazing food and nature. Cyprus offers one of the lowest corporate tax rates in Europe with 12.5% corporate tax. It offers 0% dividend tax for non-domiciled residents. And if you're not a European, you can gain permanent residency with an investment of 300,000 euro in real estate. I'm Pavlina Papalouka, and with my co-host Kyriakos Tramountanellis and our team at FinHub, we have helped hundreds of business owners and investors relocate their business and their life to Cyprus. And in this episode, we're gonna break down everything you need to know to relocate your business, optimize your taxes, start a new beautiful chapter in your life right here on the island that's quietly transforming from a tourism destination to Europe's next big business hub. Kyriakos, welcome.
Thank you, Pavlina.
Why is Cyprus so hot right now for relocation? What is causing this wave of relocation from the UK, the Nordics, Germany, Canada, even Israel?
Correct.
Can you give us like an overview? Because you have hundreds of clients you've been helping.
There is a turmoil right now in the world for different reasons. For instance, in the UK, the non-domicile tax change, which is applicable this year, is forcing all the millionaires, the multimillionaires, and of course, the billionaires to relocate, as they will be taxed in the UK for their worldwide income. So this is a big reason for the UK wealth to change destination, because the taxes, as you all know, in the UK are very high, contrary to Cyprus or any other low tax jurisdiction. So that's the UK, for instance. Germany, of course.
Mention the weather as well, right?
Okay,
I mean, you cannot compare like depressing weather.
I'm only corporate, but of course, the weather is...
When I was studying in the UK, I was so depressed as a Cypriot. I was so grateful to have been born on this island.
Yes.
So like when you get the taste of it, like the difference
of course.
Between the lifestyle.
I was depressed working there for 5 years, so I know what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know how you did it. I'm not one of the Cypriots that can live in a bad climate, but yeah, of course, it's a very pure nature, lifestyle, weather as well, together with the taxes.
Besides the lifestyle, everything is based on the Anglo-Saxon system. So the whole judicial system, the laws, how the courts rule about cases, how the courts decides. Of course, they're based on the UK law, because we used to be a former UK colony. So it's very friendly and it's very welcoming, and it's very easy for UK businesses to commence their operations here in Cyprus.
Yeah, we also drive on the
That's the reason we're driving on the same side as the UK.
Yeah. Yeah.
Besides the UK, of course, we see lots of movement from the Israelis because of the war right now.
That's a
geopolitical issue. The Israelis want the backup plan. They want to be able to operate either as a family, either as a business, or move their money or handle their businesses flawless. And that's why they set up companies here in Cyprus. They buy properties in Cyprus so that they have a backup plan, or maybe they're running parallel different vehicles in Israel and in Cyprus so that they won't be worried that their wealth or their operations are distorted one way or the other.
It's not just the wealth, you know, we have family men, they bring the kids, they want safety for the kids, and they can gain permanent residency, which we will talk in a while. I will ask you to give us like the full details for Europeans and non-Europeans. And we have a lot of Nordics now, Germans,
of course,
Swiss,
USA, Canadians. Okay, these people are coming to Cyprus for different reasons. Primarily, as we see from our clients, of course, is the taxation, because it's reaching up to 45 or 50%. If you bundle all the taxes that the business owner has to pay, including the personal taxes, the corporate taxes, it's very high, and it doesn't make much sense to giving away 50% of your profitability to your country of tax residency. So these businesses, these individuals, even with their families or without, they come to Cyprus, they create companies, and they start operating their vehicles, their operations from Cyprus.
Yeah, I want to say it's also a feeling. Like, I know there's some guy or girl in Germany and Sweden watching us right now, and they have a friend in Cyprus, Johannes, Daniel, somebody, Bjorn.
They must have many friends, actually.
And they look at their photos and their videos.
From the,
You are looking at us right now. It's like, how can I do this? How can I have this lifestyle?
Yes.
Because the options, if you're living in such a cold, depressing climate, is either go to Asia or go somewhere in Europe. Yes. So Cyprus is one of the
I hear
best
that a lot,
options.
actually. The fact that it's too cold and too lonely. This is the vibe that we get from our Nordic clients, and the reason why they move.
And they feel the warmth, like they resist in the beginning because it's not part of their culture, but when they get used to it and they start feeling comfortable with it, they cannot go back. Then doubled with the tax benefits,
of course, it's very
the
hard.
lifestyle. We are a very warm and welcome island, and you feel it. Like us personalities, Cypriots, because I've traveled a lot in those countries.
But don't forget that these people, their primary objective is not only leisure, but also to make more money or to have enough money to live a very good life. And due to Cyprus' low taxes, this is very possible. So when you're comparing the living expenses in the Nordics or in Germany or in Canada with the low living expenses here in Cyprus, these businesses, they already have their clientele around the world. So they're already receiving a fixed income, or their profits are measurable. Just by moving to Cyprus, they are halving or slicing to 1/3 or 1/4 all their running expenses, either as a business or as a family or as a person. Imagine the saving is tremendous. So it's not it's an easy decision, especially for non-married or young families.
Yes. If you're a family, it's a bigger decision, of course, because there are other things.
There are priority
consider.
schools.
Yeah.
But I think these are the reasons, Pavlina, in a nutshell, that we see now Cyprus growing, becoming a very strong, diverse, it's very important to point, diverse financial center, because as you all know, Cyprus was very focused on the Russian money in the past, on the Russian businesses. Some of them are still here, but now we're getting intakes from all over the world. It's not one jurisdiction, it's not one European country, it's literally from everywhere in the world for different reasons. And this is very important because it means that the model and what we have to offer is very valuable. And businesses see it, recognize it, and make it a reality. They relocate, they come.
And Cyprus does want to attract not only like the individual business owners, businesses, serious IT businesses.
Of course,
tech.
of course.
We're creating the environment right now. So let me take you to the next question.
Of course.
There is a big wave towards Dubai right now, especially from the UK and Europe and USA. So some people say Cyprus, or specifically Limassol as a business hub, is the new Dubai of the Mediterranean. Can we compare Cyprus to Dubai? What are the pros and cons if somebody is thinking to relocate to a lower tax jurisdiction, better weather? What are the pros and cons of Cyprus versus Dubai, which is very popular right now? It's doing great for its own reasons. And I know that you have a company in Dubai as well, and you help people there. So you are the person to explain to us this.
Actually, it's a very good question. These two jurisdictions are very comparable, and they have their different merits and advantages, of course, and disadvantages. So I would say that Dubai is a different beast on its own. Everything is very expensive there, but of course it's very welcoming to businesses. And the government there, the local government, we're talking about the UAE, but we're focusing on Dubai and Abu Dhabi. They want to help the businesses. So it is a good financial center, but a costly one. Costly to set up a company, costly to stay in a hotel, costly to eat a burger, costly to go to the beach, costly to pay for a sunbed. Everything is expensive there except the beautiful service of the taxis and the Uber, because that's amazing.
I've seen articles now, like people from the UK, they've relocated there. They're so excited about the lifestyle and the taxes, but then when you add up the cost of living,
that's why I've said the taxes. You're spot on again. So if we are comparing equals Cyprus and Dubai, you cannot see in isolation how much is the corporation tax in Cyprus and say it's 12.5%, and how much is the tax in Dubai, 9% or maybe 0% for the small businesses, because that's not just it. You need to be visiting Dubai with your UAE card once every 6 months. You need to be actually receiving services for your Dubai company from firms like us, accountants, auditors, service providers, lawyers. You need to live there a bit. I mean, you need to see your clients there. You need to have some presence. Don't forget that Dubai, like Cyprus, like the rest of the EU, is fully compliant with the OECD model. They need to be compliant with the EU substance rules, otherwise they will be fined significantly. And this is something that they do not want. They are not in the EU, but
you need to hire service providers there as well, and they're more expensive than Cyprus.
Yes, they need to be off the black lists for international tax planning purposes. So they are very alert, very organized, but very vigilant in complying with substance requirements, taxation and the avoidance rules, and all these more complicated niche things. So why I'm saying this? I'm saying this because you cannot trick the system in Dubai like you used to do, let's say 5 years ago or maybe 6 years ago. So when we're comparing equals, it's as if really we're comparing two fully transparent jurisdictions, very thorough jurisdictions that are checking the banking requirements, the taxation, the UBOs. AML is becoming an issue now. So yes, they are comparable, but the taxes, as I said, cannot be checked in isolation. 12.5% versus 9% does not do the job. It's 12.5% versus 9% versus very high accounting fees, legal fees,
cost of living, especially if you're with your family as well. It adds up.
Of course.
We will do another full episode on Dubai.
We can talk for
hours. We need
a
full episode.
This.
So if you want to know more about that, come back for that episode, because we're going to go
But Dubai and Cyprus are beautiful jurisdictions for tax planning. So you can put them in groups and they can be together as well. They work. They have their different strengths and different weaknesses. Of course, it's not the purpose of this episode to analyze
full episode to compare everything. I think that would be great, very valuable for people trying to decide. What are the benefits of the Cyprus tax residency for business owners employees or remote workers and investors, because these are different areas and people usually they don't understand.
They don't understand and they get it confused.
They just want to relocate, especially Europeans. They think I can just pick up my stuff and come. So
we need to first talk about what does it mean tax residency, because people get confused: permanent residency, tax residency, domicile, non-domicile, resident there.
Tax residency versus permanent residency versus a visa.
Exactly. So let's start with the basic. Tax resident, whether we're talking about your company or a company, which is a vehicle for business, or yourself, is the place where it determines how you will be taxed. So when we say tax residency, we mean, when we say I am a tax resident of Dubai, for instance, it means that I will be taxed in Dubai. I will be taxed. If I say my company, however, is tax residency in Cyprus, it means that this company will be taxed in Cyprus. This is what tax residency means. And to obtain this status, of course, there are different requirements. We can go into depth about it. It's up to you how you want me to.
We will see how much deep we can go, because a lot of people, let's say from Europe, they think I can just rent an apartment in Cyprus. Let's say they're an online entrepreneur or a remote worker. And I can just move there, and they don't look into tax residency. Do they need to look into tax residency if they move here, or it's their own decision as an individual first? Because for companies,
let's talk about the same. Okay, as an individual, which again is very important to understand where this individual is coming from. As you may well know, there are exit laws that apply to people who are changing their tax residency. So if you are a UK person, Pavlina, say you were born in the UK, you've been living in the UK all your life, and you're fed up with the UK and you want to come to Cyprus. You cannot just pick your bag and come to Cyprus. You need to check certain things before you do that. The same would apply if you were a German person, a European, or a Spanish person who wants to relocate to another European country. It depends on a case-by-case basis, and I'm going to explain to it very shortly. So basically what the exit laws say and the exit rules say about people changing their tax status, because it's very important, these laws mean that you're not just to take advantage of the lower tax jurisdictions. So if you're a German or a UK, for instance, tax resident, and you want to come to Cyprus, the UK HMRC or the German tax authorities, as we said in the example, will check, is Pavlina doing this just to be paying less taxes? Is she really moving to Cyprus? Or she's filling all the paperwork so that she gets a benefit by exploiting our system here and exploiting Cyprus system. So it's very important for people to understand this is nobody.
And they make a lot of mistakes.
Of course.
All the time, and they get in trouble.
Of course. Of course.
The more the money you have, the more in trouble you get. I was talking with a German a month ago at a seminar I spoke at in Paphos, and he's an online marketer. He relocated with his wife, and he didn't do the exit properly. And
from Germany, right?
From Germany, he was owing more than €1 million in taxes to Germany, and he tried to patch it up on his own and started different companies here and there.
You cannot, it's too late.
Relocated, so he got a knock on the door from the Cyprus police, because if you owe more than €1 million in taxes in Germany, they can actually pursue you internationally.
Wow.
And they put him in jail, and then he had to pay a lot more money than he would have paid if he had done everything properly, exited properly, paid his taxes there. So he lost a lot of his wealth to tidy everything up, and then he had to hire the local lawyers and the local accountants, which he could have done from the start. And that's why we have this podcast as well to explain to you.
And this is the role of FinHub. FinHub enables all the international people to simply spend a minute or two on the platform, put their inquiry, and get the best service they can for their own circumstances, whether that is tax planning, whether it's accounting matters, legal matters, or relocation matters.
So if you are looking at us right now and you're wondering, okay, this sounds scary and complicated, what do I do? And how do I find the right accountant or lawyer in Cyprus? We have FinHub.com.cy, the platform that is sponsoring this episode as well. And you go there and you place a code. You put the information about what you need, and FinHub will match you with the right experts. They will give you a code. You will choose the expert you want to work with. And these are licensed, vetted,
of course,
verified, experienced experts, so that you relocate with safety, with comfort. And the reason we created this platform is because there was this kind of need. People make a lot of mistakes and they don't know how to choose the right expert.
And of course, it's free for the user and there's no commitment. So you just get quotations from vetted, qualified lawyers, accountants, tax experts, relocation experts. And if you want to proceed with their services, it's entirely up to you.
You don't need a commitment in advance.
No, not at all. Back to your question. So if you're planning to relocate to Cyprus, for instance, or the EU or anywhere else in the world, you need to check first with your local tax experts whether the exit laws of the country of your tax residency have been checked and you are okay to relocate and change tax residency. Usually, Pavlina, if you are a businessman, if you are married, if you are paying local pension funds, or if you're paying for local medical insurance, or you're contributing to a fund for your medical issues, if you have properties, of course, on your name, businesses on your name, definitely these exit laws and rules will capture you. So it is very common for the UK, USA, Canada, possibly Israel, and Germany, of course, that a person that owns property under their name, they're married in that country, they pay for life insurance, for medical insurance, either privately or to the public avenues. These things will be checked by the local tax departments. And if you own all this stuff, please make sure that you run everything with your local tax expert, because even if, and that's the $1 million question, even if you change country, Germany, the UK, maybe Canada, maybe the US, maybe Israel will tax you as if you've never left. And that's how your friend got in trouble. And this is what gets people in trouble. We had some clients with such troubles. We have assisted them, but usually it is too late. You need to speak with tax experts. You can find them in FinHub, locally tax experts, but also with your local tax experts. Whether you need a German tax expert to walk you through the exit laws of Germany. You need a USA specialist tax expert to walk you through USA exit laws if you're leaving the UK and what happens and how you will be taxed, etc., etc.
Okay.
So I hope this is clear now.
Step one, you make this decision to relocate to Cyprus. First, you talk with your local tax consultant, accountant, how to exit the right way. And at the same time, you can start talking with a local accountant or lawyer in Cyprus about relocating.
And these two experts, sometimes they collaborate. They cross-check all they dot all the I's and cross all the T's to make sure that the smooth transition will take place.
Yeah, the bigger the company or the more money you make, the more these two
the more assets you have in a country. In the UK, for instance, people are selling their properties or writing them on someone else's name to come and live in Cyprus. It's not a simple thing. You need to sell your assets. Clean the assets from your personal name.
And if you find an expert in Cyprus like Kyriakos, for example, who has dealt with a lot of client case studies, they will know what is happening in your country. In many cases, they will know if they have experience with that country.
From their own clients.
From their old clients, the exit rules. So what are the tax advantages, tax benefits of the Cyprus tax residency for businesses versus somebody who is an employee, a remote worker?
Okay.
Because a lot of people think they can also come and find a job, and they can't if they're from that tax benefits.
Okay, we're talking about businesses.
Yes.
Okay, in Cyprus, the corporation tax is only 12.5%. is one of the lowest in Europe. But besides this low corporation tax, it's also the fact that running a business in Cyprus is very cheap. We are not comparing Cyprus to Bulgaria or Romania, but with the rest of Europe is very cheap. In addition, employee recruiting of people is very cheap in Cyprus, as well as there are many funding schemes by the government which reduce even lower this cost. So yes, the taxes are low, but also the running of the business with those taxes is very low. That's what makes it so attractive. Over and above, for investors, which you've mentioned earlier on, for the owners of the company, the dividends is zero. It's zero as far as Cyprus is concerned, whether the shareholder or the owner is Cyprus tax resident or not.
Is it same for crypto profits?
Yes, I will explain as well. Let's finish with this example because it's important. So if you are a USA shareholder and you have a Cyprus company, the Cyprus company made 1 million in profits, and you will receive 1 million after tax, 1 million after tax profits, and the shareholder can receive 1 million tax-free dividends in the US, the shareholder. Now, whether the US will tax, the US will tax the shareholder, but the purpose of this example is to show that Cyprus will not tax you. Okay? If, however, this shareholder comes and becomes a Cyprus tax resident and non-domicile and denounce his USA passport or his tax status in the US, it's very complicated, but if he does that, he will pay zero dividend tax.
What is a non-domicile tax resident? Because many people say this, non-domiciled, and they assume everyone knows. What does it mean to be a non-domiciled resident?
If you're a Cypriot who was born in Cyprus, your domicile is Cyprus. Is Cyprus. A non-domicile is someone who is living in Cyprus, but was not born there or lived there all their life.
For a number of years?
Yes, I will explain it to you. But this is you start from there.
Okay.
So it applies to all internationals. That's why we have so many non-dom internationals. What does it mean?
Yeah.
It means it's a tax status.
It's not fair to me as a Cypriot. But anyway.
Well, it is fair because it's a trick, it's a tax trick to bring more investors and business owners into the country. So if an international person has business ties with Cyprus, and that simply means having a Cyprus company which does some trade, and he's on the payroll of this company with a small salary, for instance, and he's living in Cyprus for at least 2 months in a year, cumulative 60 days. It could be a day in, a day out. He could come for 5 days for 2 consecutive months or even longer. He will obtain this tax status. As long as he's not a tax resident somewhere else, which means that he's not living somewhere else more than 6 months. So anyone from anywhere in the world can become non-dom as long as they create a Cyprus company, then become employees of this company and shareholders, of course, and they stay at least 60 days in Cyprus, but they don't stay anywhere else in the world, cumulative for 6 months. This enables them to tax-free dividends. What does it mean? Because it means that this person now become a Cyprus tax resident, but non-domicile is what I said earlier. So he was not born here. He's tax resident, however.
And I think not lived in Cyprus for the last maybe 17 years.
17 out of the last 20 years. But we're talking about international.
Out of the last 20 years. But what if I'm a Cypriot who was born in Cyprus? I'm 40 years old. And the last 20 years I was not living in Cyprus.
You are eligible as well.
I can also return
to
Cyprus from the UK and be non-domiciled.
Yes.
So take note if you're a Cypriot that wants to relocate.
And the simple rule is, have you ever been to Cyprus? No. You are eligible for non-dom. The process is easy. We tick the box. If you're a Cypriot who wants to check whether you are eligible for this, the last 20 years, have you stepped foot in Cyprus, worked besides being a tourist? No. Okay, you are eligible as well. We can assist you. You can find an expert on FinHub who can assist you and register you and make you a non-domicile tax person. So it's a tax status. It's important, the jargon, it's a tax status. Okay?
Great. Okay, so how about employees and remote workers. I know this episode is more for business owners and investors,
But this is relevant,
a lot of
of
people
course.
are watching us. They are a remote worker. Let's say they make a very good income online. They can work from anywhere. So for them, it's very easy to relocate. And another question I get very often on my social media is, oh, we want to relocate with my husband and kids. They have some money, let's say in the UK. Can we find a job in Cyprus and become employees? And they don't realize the complexities of that, especially if they are from outside Europe.
Yes.
So can you explain the tax benefits for remote workers first, and then what happens with people who want to come and get a job?
Tax
and get
benefits for remote workers who are employed in Cyprus or who want to come and work in Cyprus.
Let's say somebody wants to pick up their stuff from Germany or Sweden and want to come and work, or Poland.
It's very important to again distinguish Europe versus non-Europe. So if they're Europeans, they only need to obtain a yellow slip, which is a streamlined process within Cyprus and across the EU. So these people can come easily to Cyprus. They can be employed by a Cypriot company or by an overseas European company, and they will be paying local taxes here. So in your example, maybe a German employee is fed up with Germany, but he's happy with their employer. And they can say to their employer, what if I relocate to a nice island and I will do exactly the same thing remotely, because anyway I'm working remotely in Germany. Is this okay with you? If the answer is yes, this is totally feasible and something that we see in practice. So because they are both, the employer is from the EU and the employee is from the EU, this is a simple process.
So do they need a local accountant when they relocate here?
Of course they do.
So they're going to move their tax base as well?
Of course.
Do they have to move their tax base?
They have to, because they will be spending more than 6 months in Cyprus.
Okay.
So they will stop
more
being...
than 6 months.
They will be full-time employees living somewhere else.
So if they spend more than 6 months, they have to move their tax base.
Yes.
Otherwise, they can keep their tax base in Germany if they want.
Yes.
Their country.
Each scenario, with the employment taxes are a bit tricky. And the employment tax in all the EU states is progressive, which means that it changes every now and then. So we're talking about someone who wants to come to Cyprus and live in Cyprus and work for the German employer for a year or more than 6 months. Otherwise, maybe they will have to be tax residents in Cyprus and maybe they have to be tax residents in both countries. Otherwise, if it's for a very short period, for less than 2 months, different laws applies. It's a complex decision and tree diagram on how it's taxed and what have you. But this is not the point. The point is that they will change their tax residency if they're going to come for more than 6 months, say for a year or 2 years. They will be paying social securities and NHS here in Cyprus. They will need their accountant to prepare all this. And of course, they will be registered as employees of their German company. So their German company will be registered here in Cyprus again, as well as a remote employer, which means that it's not a Cyprus company, it's a remote company which employs this German person here. The accounting fees for the payroll preparation and everything is not expensive. It's a monthly fee because the accountants need to prepare the social securities, the NHS. They need to be paying the NHS on behalf of the employer. Okay, and this is every month. So this is it. However, if they're not from Germany,
if they're not from Europe, what's happening there?
That's where the fun part starts. And it's fair, actually, because Europe wants to protect its borders. So whoever is not European, is not easy to come and work in Europe. Cyprus has different schemes available, different visa schemes that these people can enjoy, take advantage to work. So again, in your example, Pavlina, it's very important to know, does this person want to come and work in Cyprus and be registered with the social securities or not? Because if they do not really need to be on the payroll, it could be a UK businessman who wants to run a Cyprus operation, who wants to set up a Cyprus company and be non-dom in Cyprus, getting dividends, but not actually be on the social securities of Cyprus. Different programs apply to different combinations. That's why you need a very good tax expert or immigration expert to determine which visa is applicable to a third country national. It's very important to know whether this individual wants to be employed in Cyprus or not, because different visa schemes apply.
Okay, to cover the question I started with, this part is, what is the difference between tax residency, visa, and permanent residency?
Tax residency, I have explained to you that it's a tax status, either for the company or for the individual.
And everyone can get this tax
Everyone
residency?
has a tax status.
Okay.
Whether you where are you taxed? That's what it means, tax residency.
Okay.
And it's a process where you prove to the income tax office that you live in a specific country. There is some evidence to provide to the income tax office, and the income tax office will say, yes, I'll consider you my tax residence and I will be taxing you. A visa, however, is a requirement of a non-European to obtain and legalize their paperwork so that they can come and be legally working or operating in Cyprus. So we have the tourist visa, the long-term visitors visa, we have the BCS visa, we have the digital nomads visa, we have the category F, which is the permanent residency visa by investments. These are visas that enable the third country nationals to come to Cyprus and work.
Yeah, and keep in mind, if you want to come on a visa and you don't have a job and you're looking for a job, you're not like a business owner who's going to relocate their business here, you need an employer that is willing to make these arrangements advance. Because a lot of people are messaging me from the UK, oh, we want to sell our property and relocate with the family. Can my husband find a job in this field? I don't know how to help you with that, because it's a lot more complicated than just getting a job. If you're a European, it's easier. And then what is the difference between visa and permanent residency program that we have in Cyprus? And we're going to go more into that.
Visa could be any of the programs that I've mentioned earlier on. You could obtain a digital entrepreneur visa. You can come to Cyprus with a tourist visa. You can get a key person visa.
But how long can you stay with these visas? There is a time limit for each visa.
There is a time limit, but they are renewable and it depends. They are very niche visas. Okay, whereas with the permanent residency, it's more easy because you just buy a property which is more than 300,000 plus VAT always. It has to be a new property. Or it could be a property which is commercial or a house. It does not have to be a house or a flat.
And to clarify, this is for non-Europeans, because Europeans, they don't need the permanent residency.
They don't need anything. They can move freely and live freely in the EU. Or the investment could be in shares in a Cyprus company, or in securities as announced by the government of Cyprus at the given year. So this visa enables them to stay in Cyprus and come to Cyprus and live whenever they want without showing much paperwork. They need to come to Cyprus at least every 2 years, okay? And after 5 years, if they get this golden visa, as we say it here in Cyprus, they can apply for a citizenship, which means the Cyprus passport. Once they get the Cyprus passport, of course, they can move freely within the EU because Cyprus is an EU member state.
Okay, I want to stand a bit on the permanent residency because I have a case study now with clients that contacted from Israel, and they have 4 kids, and they read online that they could get permanent residency if they buy a property for 300,000, but they try to do this on their own because they already have a property in Cyprus. I'm going to call the developer. I'm going to go find another property without talking in depth with the lawyer. A lot of the lawyers are very superficial because they want to get the client.
Of course.
We have to mention this. Just be very careful about the advice that you get. And then they contacted me and they said, I want to see some properties. If you have something in mind, around 350,000. I know he has 4 kids. he says, I decided to get the permanent residency, and I talk with a developer, and I say that this person has 4 kids, and they say, explain to him that if he wants permanent residency for the wife and the 4 kids, they need a bigger budget. Yes. So there are different things, different traps, let's say, that you need to take care of. It needs to be a new property. So don't try to do it on your own. Like,
has to be VAT. You need to pay VAT.
You need to pay VAT. And it needs to be a new property because you need to pay the government a VAT. So can you explain a bit that what they should do if they decide to get the permanent residency? Should they go to an accountant, a lawyer? Like, who do they need to find first before they go to the developer or to the real estate
They need to
agent?
find a person, a firm which specializes in these matters because they are progressive. Year on year, the government might decide, and this happens with all the visas, that, for instance, in 2025, we will add this to the requirements. So the contact that you have, for instance, might have not read anywhere on the website the new requirements. Over and above, there is expertise on the technicalities of the applications. For instance, the category F, which is what we're talking about, the permanent residency, is being delayed and is stuck now. So they are not issuing very fast new permanent residencies to the applicants. So only a person who is handling these matters will be able to know these details.
Because they study the laws all the time, they work with clients.
The laws are the laws, but the reality of the matter is different.
It's different.
So maybe you will think that you will get your permanent residency within 6 months, and you do everything brilliantly, just to realize that applications 2 years before you have not been granted yet. How would you know that unless you hire an expert accountant, immigration expert, or a lawyer who is handling these matters?
Who is an expert in this sense.
Who is handling this and who has people who go to the immigration?
It's a very, very big issue because thinking about this person who was ready to take his family and
it wouldn't happen. I'm telling you from now.
Ready to sell his local business.
2027 it will happen, of course.
So he needs to pace himself.
Yes, we have the same problem with the digital nomad visa. There is a ceiling. Do they know? If you read everything on the internet, how do you know whether the ceiling has been met? How do you know that the government is not taking new people? And how do you know how fast they are granting you this visa? So again, you need, as you correctly said, to hire an expert.
So on FinHub, we have a section for permanent residency where we have this type of experts and immigration and visas, and you can submit your code, your specific situation, your timeline, and then get codes from experts, and you can have a call with them. And of course, have calls with as many experts as you want. Feel free, but make sure that you are hiring the right type of expert and you don't get in trouble, because
a firm that does A very well doesn't mean that they do B, C, and D very well. And from my experience as well with these visa requirements, each case is totally different. Each case, no matter how simple it is, it has its own peculiarities. It takes time and it can go wrong.
So how can somebody who is now looking at us from anywhere in the world and they want to relocate to Cyprus and they come on the platform, FinHub, okay, we vet the experts we put there, but how do they choose the right expert? Like, do you have a checklist, something that you think they should be checking before they make the final decision, other than going through a credible platform?
Of course, they can. Once they get the quotations and that are within their budget, they can, at their own time, go and visit the websites of these service providers, speak with the experts in the field of these service providers, and get a feel on whether or not they are really the ones for them. Because let's not forget that what FinHub does is that it replicates the commercial world, the way we do business in a digital manner. So yes, they are all vetted. They are all big, small, medium-sized firms, very experienced in different fields. But once you decide that I like these 2 or 3 firms to proceed with my permanent resident visa, feel free to speak with the person who will be handling your application, visit their website, do a bit of research.
And I would say also book a ticket and come to Cyprus and visit them in person if you can.
Of course,
because it's an important decision. Your lawyer, your
course.
accountant. It's for many years.
Of course, it's a marriage.
Yeah, it's a marriage, and it's the same like buying a property. You would come and see the property. So you need to have the right questions for this person and feel the energy and check their websites and check their credibility, and maybe also visit them in person.
And of course, these details, the service providers who give you details about matters, they're the ones who really know what's happening.
Another thing I want to touch on very quickly, somebody wants to incorporate a company in Cyprus to move their tax space. What is the cost and the steps? And also I've heard that some companies, they give a very basic code to get the client in, and then there are added expenses.
Always.
So how do you get a complete code for all your needs for the entire year to have a very good idea on what is happening and what you will be paying to your accountant, your lawyer? Do you need an accountant to incorporate the company, or do you need a lawyer?
You need FinHub. If you put your post in FinHub, both accountants and lawyers.
So actually, yes, in Cyprus, both accountants and lawyers, they can incorporate companies.
But the accountants do it with an in-house lawyer
who
has to sign the incorporation.
Okay. Yes, because normally I would go to an accountant because that's the person who will be handling my finances.
Yes.
When I started my first company, I was very young. I didn't know. And I went to a lawyer. Okay, so he did the papers, and then I had to go and find another accounting firm to set everything up for me. I would prefer to go to a good accountant from the start, and they deal with the lawyers. That's my personal preference. But there are people and companies that are a little bit more complicated legally. They need more compliance.
Correct.
So maybe they need to go to the right legal firm first, right? Correct. That's what's happening.
So it depends. If you are a solopreneur who wants to run a business, it's different than if you are a company if you are a startup who is about to employ 5 people, or who will be doing complex matters and who will grow to 20 to 30. So for simple matters, I would say the cost, back to your question, is approximately, the prices vary. They could be 600 up to 1,000 euros, the fees, plus the disbursements of the government, plus VAT. Okay, when we say disbursements, these are payments to the Cyprus
directly to the
Cyprus Registrar of Companies. Yes, and these disbursements vary a lot as well, depending on your needs. If you need all the paperwork to be in English, this costs a bit more
extra.
Than if you have them in Greek.
So total to incorporate a company
less than 2,000, definitely less than 2,000.
To incorporate. But then what happens? What are the added costs? Yearly accounts, VAT reports, and all of that. So that somebody knows.
So these are not added costs really. These are the maintenance costs, and these are the costs that you need to suffer due to EU laws, primarily in Cyprus laws. So you need an accountant to prepare your accounting information, your VAT returns, your VIS returns, and of course at the year end to do the audit if required and submit the tax returns and the audited financial statements to the authorities. So this is a streamlined process.
And how much is the cost for an average company? Because if your company is very big and it's very complicated, it will be different.
Small companies, 2,000 to 3,000, I would say.
Per year?
Yes, per year. That's the cost.
For the VAT and VS and everything?
Yes.
When is it necessary to submit audited accounts, and when is it not necessary?
There are thresholds, but again, this depends on your local auditors, because maybe they will decide to do you audited financial statements because it's easier for them and faster for them than not to. So there is a threshold, but in Cyprus, still this threshold is not very applied. It's not applied strictly by either the regulator or the auditors.
Everyone take note of the costs, because you can be given very different quotes from different providers, and these are
to the defense of the accountants and the auditors. Unfortunately, we are asked to give a quotation without knowing the client, without knowing how detailed the client is. how much communication we'll have with the client, how organized the client will be, and based on his description of the size of the business. So we start the work, and then we realize that the client that says, yeah, it's a very small operation, in his mind, maybe it's a normal business here in Cyprus, so the fees could have been double, for instance. And so
you're dealing with people, with service providers. You need to be upfront with the service provider. Of course, the service provider needs to ask you the right questions so that you can get the right quote. And companies grow and expand, and hopefully when you relocate here, your business will grow. And then you have more money to pay your accountant.
Of course. It's a nice problem to have.
Yes, it's a nice problem to have. So let's go to more of a lifestyle question. Which city to choose? And I have some data here that I found on the internet around the cost of living as well, because cities are very different in the cost of living in Cyprus. And people think that it's going to be the same everywhere, but it's not. So the cost of living from a website called livingcost.org for March 2025. Cost of living in Cyprus is, I mean, you and me now might laugh a bit because this is like the bare minimum for the cheapest city. 1,500
per person.
Per person. But if you're a single person, I don't think that's feasible with the rent and everything. Unless you don't have rent, unless you come and buy a property and then you don't have rental expenses, I would say that's the bare minimum. Because
I think it's a bit low.
Here, yes, it's low because it says for one person, 1,500 with rent. No way.
But it's not only Cyprus. Where can you, unless you are in Thailand or in Asia,
I think this
where
is
in Europe is
even in Asia now it's very expensive, but here it says 1,500. Here I would say 3,000 minimum, with rent. And for a family of 4, it says here 3,587 with rent. And without rent, it says 650 for a single person and 1,979 for a family of 4. I think double that. Think double that.
We're not talking about someone who is just living by and is cooking and hardships and struggling. We're talking about an average. These are very low because the rental cost itself anywhere in Cyprus starts from 500 euros.
Yes.
That's the base.
It says here rent and utilities for a single person, 855 minimum. That's the bare minimum. Yes, minimum.
That's
so you don't have much left for food and transport, and then for a family, it says here on this website 1,600 rent and utilities. And I think that, again, that's bare minimum. And the salary, the average salary after tax is 1,750.
Maybe that's
realistic.
Yes, the average is that.
Yeah. So I would say if you want a good standard of living, you need 3,000 euro a month as a single person.
We're talking about people who relocate to Cyprus.
Who relocate, yes.
So at least.
At least. If you have a family, double, triple.
Not double, but you mean the combined income with the family?
Yes, the combined.
It should be at least 5,000.
Yes. So I will start and compare cities now.
Because why would someone come and live to Cyprus if they find a big firm? Because there are many forex companies, shipping companies, technology companies everywhere in the island, so they can recruit you. But you wouldn't leave your home country to feel hardship here unless you're, you know.
And if you're a business owner, you need to know you're making a certain amount of money and over.
Because and you need to know your payroll costs as well, how much salaries you will be paying.
Salaries, the accountants, the lawyers, the rent, etc., and what kind of lifestyle you want to have. And I want to give people a little comparison between Nicosia, Limassol, Larnaca, and
Paphos. Your favorite topic, the topic that attracts the most heat is here. Pavlina is comparing the cities, of course. Haters, get ready.
So based on this website and not on me, to maintain the same standard of living in Limassol that you have in Nicosia for 3,000, in Limassol you need 4,500 thousand euro. You need at least 1,500 euro more, which is very realistic. Because Nicosia is the cheapest city. To maintain the standard of living with a salary of 3,000 in Nicosia, you will need 3,500 in Paphos. It's a little bit more expensive.
Is it?
Yes.
I wouldn't. Why?
Because it's more of a tourist city, and prices, especially in some nicer areas, unless you go to a village in the mountains. There are very nice villages
Paphos
in
is
Paphos.
popular. I mean, we get lots of inquiries, even on FinHub, about Paphos. Because of the airport as well. The airport matters a lot.
And Paphos has an airport. Yes. It's beautiful. You have the beach. It's like you're living in a resort location. Yes. Limassol is more of city vibes, Dubai vibes.
Different. You can categorize the investors or the entrepreneurs or the business owners depending on their lifestyle and their wealth, which city they will feel more attracted to.
Yeah, so Nicosia is like, it's the capital. Many headquarters are here of very big companies, the tax firms, the government offices is very business friendly. And the lifestyle is a little bit
different,
a little bit underrated here because we don't have the beach. So you need to travel to the beach. That's the only thing we don't have. So it's not so touristy. It's more serious. It's more corporate. Limassol, it's on a big rise right now.
Hype. There is a hype. It's like Dubai. Big. So people
who like Dubai. A lot of millionaires moving there. They're raising the prices. It's become very expensive to do everything, not just the rent and buy a property, to go to the gym, to go to a restaurant. Prices are, for me, becoming a little bit ridiculous compared to 5 years ago when I was living there. Lots of expats though, but you need to like the vibe because there's a lot of Russian-speaking expats in Limassol. You will enjoy a more luxury lifestyle there if you like the luxury lifestyle.
You pay for it, of course.
You pay for it, but you can enjoy it there and, have your luxury car and drive it up and
luxury
down the beach
hotel,
road.
Samara is a 5-star
beautiful luxury hotels, lots of events. Every time we go to a conference to speak
all the
or
main
to
conferences are there.
They are in Limassol, and
big
it's really
community, more than 120,000.
It's a beautiful lifestyle. It is. Then Paphos is more peaceful. It's growing. It's excellent for families, family life, I believe. Pensioners. Permanent residency. Very easy to invest in Paphos. Lots of new, beautiful, amazing properties for 300,000.
Because the population is very
350,000, like really with a sea view and everything. So I just love the lifestyle of Paphos. It's so peaceful and relaxing. It's very investor friendly. And then for Larnaca, compared to Nicosia, to have the same lifestyle as Nicosia with 3,000 in Nicosia, you need 3,150 in Larnaca, so very close cost of living, very little extra.
I'm a bit surprised. Larnaca was cheaper than Nicosia.
Yeah, but they're going up now because they're seaside cities, so the investors are throwing a lot of money in these cities. You will see a lot of growth in Larnaca. I was talking with the mayor. We did a video a couple of months ago. He told me about the investments happening that will upgrade the city a lot. These mayors, they know things 3 years in advance, 5 years in advance. And I had this when I was in Limassol. People were telling me what was going to happen 5 years before, 10 years before. I was hanging out with people who knew what was going to happen because they had already solidified the investments. So it's fast growth. You have the main airport of Cyprus in Larnaca. Of course, the airport is only 40 minutes from Nicosia as well. So I guess as an advice, you think about your needs and what you like as a person. You think about what you can afford.
Because each city is totally different.
Yes, and I would say come travel to Cyprus and live for a few days in each city, at least.
For a week at least in each city, to get the vibe.
Yes, go around, get a vibe. Maybe join some events if you can. And then you will understand what is right for you right now. And if you're not going to directly buy, you can rent in the beginning and decide exactly where you want to buy. Yes. That's my advice. I don't know if you have anything else to say around that.
No, you cannot buy before you come and see and feel. Mm-hmm. And it's always best to rent first for a few months. And then when you're ready and sure, then you buy. Of course, before you buy, you need to hire the right experts especially if you're relocating, the exit laws we've talked about earlier on, and which visa requirements are more suitable for you.
Cannot buy online. I remember once I was talking with an Italian millionaire and multi-millionaire. He was working in Limassol for years before he became the multi-millionaire. So he knew Limassol really well. But he told me that he actually bought his property online because he knew what he wanted. So he just bought a house online.
No.
But he wasn't really happy after that because
conveyancing must take place.
He had to travel to Missouri every day. I said, why are you living in Missouri? You're a multi-millionaire. You can live anywhere. I said, oh, well, I saw this property online and I bought it. But he has a lot of money to throw around, like lots of luxury cars. So for him, it's not like an issue. I would not advise that.
Conveyancing must take place before you purchase a property, and that's a check of not only the title deeds and the legality of the property, but also construction-wise, if everything is okay. You get the experts, they tell you they're okay, and then you proceed. So
like a checklist, if somebody wants to buy a property in Cyprus, I would say, and then you correct me if I left anything behind, you find the right developers or credible real estate agency. You tell them what you want, and then you arrange. I mean, they can send you the properties if you're abroad, and then you arrange to come for a week and do some property tours directly with this credible license.
That's the first step.
That's the first step. Because even if you find a developer, you need to know the quality of building. You need to ask about, the quality. You need to ask about title deeds, when they will be given.
Exactly.
Because some developers and even real estate agents will show you properties, either resale properties or off-market properties that are still under development, but you don't know when and if you have title deeds.
Of course.
Maybe somebody reselling their property and they don't have the title deeds yet. So there are some details.
Over and above, maybe the developer is over-leveraged when they're selling off-plant. So how do you know that they will manage to finish the project and they will not go bust?
Yeah, exactly. So unless it's a very big developer that is in the market for 20, 30, 50 years, they have hundreds of properties.
Yeah, okay, big companies go bust as well.
They do, yeah.
So you need to
be careful.
Yeah, you need to check this parameter as well. If it's a resale, maybe you need to go with your civil engineer to have a look as well. If the property belongs to a group or to a company, where, sometimes we do these tasks as well for some clients. The person who is handling your case needs to check that the company does not owe any taxes, is viable, it has the money to complete the project. The owners are who they say they are, they have the licenses, the plot is purchased, the sketches and everything are approved, licensed. There is some background work to be made, even if you're buying off-plant, resale, or a new property that you just enter with the developer.
So I guess finding the right trusted, expert local accountant and lawyer to be your starting point, the right person, they will advise you on that as well.
Of course.
Because all their clients go through that. And that's why I stressed that in the beginning, because we see so many errors happening and then you're dealing with issues. So you need to have your local
Once you buy the property,
person.
It's old news.
Yes.
There's little things you can do.
Yeah.
You are trapped. This is called trapped.
Of course, Cyprus, generally, you don't have so many issues. I don't think it's a country where you will fall into many traps.
These days, there aren't. In the past, there were such issues, but we rarely hear.
The government is regulating everything very closely now.
The developers who are operating now are very thoroughly checked. They are not highly leveraged because simply the banks do not lend them. I think they can lend them up to 25%, so they need to find their own funds. But having said that, as I mentioned earlier on, you need to make sure that the developer has the money to complete and deliver his promises. And let's not forget that developers wants to sell, and you need someone between you want to buy, the developer wants to sell. but you need someone in the middle to protect your interests.
Your interests, yeah. And you're right about the government not giving even developer licenses. A lot of people are complaining.
Now, yes.
I was talking with a Cypriot who came from the UK. He's an engineer and he wants to be a developer, and he's finding it very difficult to get a license. But that's not just because they want to block the small developers and they want to protect the big ones. It's because they want to also protect the market from everyone coming and becoming a developer.
Now it's healthy, I believe. Now the market is healthy.
Yeah. Good.
We don't hear any problems like we used to hear 20 years ago or before 2013. Now you don't hear any problems.
Yeah, personally, I haven't heard of any issues.
Likewise.
The only issue is we will touch in the next episode about investing in the occupied part of Cyprus, which is a totally different story.
Yes.
We will not touch it on this episode. We're talking about the Free European Republic of Cyprus. Just to recap what we said today, why Cyprus is becoming one of the most attractive relocation destinations in Europe. Number one, it's a safe, friendly lifestyle with welcoming local and expat community. As locals, we are naturally very hospitable. We are Mediterranean people. Great food, great weather, sunshine, all of this.
Great professionals.
Great professionals, service-based economy. Cypriots, they study abroad, most of them, or we have great universities here
Highly
now.
educated.
Yes, and you will get to communicate with all the service providers very easily in English language. And
fast, accurately, remotely.
You have access to the EU with a low corporate tax of 12.5%, 0% tax on global dividends for non-domiciled residents, the permanent residency.
Solutions for Europeans and non-Europeans, which is the permanent residency and the visa schemes available at each year.
And simple, fast, easy business setup with all these professionals and the systems we have in Cyprus are much simpler than what I hear about happening in other countries where there is a huge bureaucracy for everything.
To incorporate the Cyprus company, it takes 3 steps. First, you need to speak with the accountant or the lawyer and tell them what you need to do with a name or 3 preferred names and the composition of the company, who will be the directors, shareholders, and company register, and the memorandum and articles if you want any changes. The service provider will come back to you with the preferred structure and with the fee code. Once you accept it, you wire the money, you will have the company within a month.
Okay, so 1 month.
Yeah, unfortunately, unlike the UK and other countries and the UAE, in Cyprus, it takes 3 to 4 working weeks for a newly established company to be formed.
So whether you're an investor, a business owner, a remote worker, or somebody simply looking for a better lifestyle, a better location, Cyprus has the full package of everything you need. And if you want to connect with the right experts, just head to finhub.com.cy, click on Get Matched, and you will be guided through a 2-3 minute process. And then you can get your codes from verified, certified, and credible experts who are responsive, who are there to help, who are locals, who know the market really well. And you can start your journey of relocating to Cyprus with ease and joy. And we're looking forward to welcoming you to our beautiful island, the island of the goddess Aphrodite as well, the island of beauty, which is now developing into a business hub in Europe. Any closing remarks, Kyriakos, for anyone who wants to relocate to Cyprus?
It's a very wise decision. It's fast, it's easy, and of course, it's going to save you thousands in money because your dividends will be bigger and you will enjoy a great lifestyle with it.
So if you want to know more about business, relocation to Cyprus, running a business in Cyprus, everything about Cyprus for business owners, investors, remote workers, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Click the bell button to be notified because we have upcoming episodes for relocating from specific countries like the UK, Cyprus versus Dubai, how to set up the company in more detail, how to legally pay 0 taxes, crypto taxation.
We haven't touched it.
Yes, more details about buying a property. We will have guests. So we're looking forward to seeing you in the next episodes. Until next time, book your ticket to Cyprus and come visit us. Bye for now.
Bye.